Oh, the movie's over. Whew. Thank God.
Quiet on the set!
So the other night I did a double feature, and one of the films that I checked out was a crime drama film called The Alto Knights, and this was the first film that I saw out of that double feature. Hey everyone, my name is Ryan. Thank you guys for clicking on this video. If you like reviews like this, I do all kinds of them on the channel. Definitely hit that subscribe button. Also give the video a like as well, and comment below your thoughts on The Alto Knights. And why not tell me what is your favorite crime mob boss genre kind of film. Now this film, it was directed by Barry Levinson, and I'm not familiar with any of his work. I know that he's done a few movies that are a little bit more famous, like Rain Man, I believe, but I've never seen any of his previous works. And this film, it stars Debra Messing and Robert De Niro. Now, what is this film about? Well, it's basically about two crime bosses fighting for power. You have Frank Costello, who is getting out of the game of being a crime boss, and there is this drug trade that is going on, and you also have Vito Genovese that is involved as well, and Vito orders a hit on Frank, and the movie starts to ensue, in which we start to get a little bit of Frank's story and why he wants to get out of the game of this whole crime mob boss type of thing. And then it goes into like a documentary type style. And actually it really surprised me because I was like, oh, is this an actual documentary? He starts narrating in the film, and you have him kind of reflecting on his life. You have a lot of quick editing with a lot of black and white photos, which this does take place in the 1950s. And apparently these guys are really famous. I think that if you really like this kind of material and you know these guys, you're going to really love this movie. But for me, I didn't really know anything about these guys. And to be honest, a lot of the mafia movies that I've seen, they've never really been all that interesting. I do need to see some of like the hit movies like Goodfellas. I've never seen any of those movies. I know that's probably a crime. You know, if you're going to go into this genre, you should probably watch those films. But a lot of like these kind of style movies, I've never really got into. I think I just need to watch the right ones. And with Robert De Niro here, he plays double duty. He plays both characters here, which was kind of weird for me because one character had a lot more makeup than the other, so they're trying to like differentiate like both characters. I thought it was kind of weird. There's a little bit of action in here, but to be honest, like most of the action, I mean, it probably amounts up to maybe about 10 minutes in the entirety of the film, a couple shootouts, which was cool, but this film is very dialogue heavy, and it's a lot of talking, and I feel like this movie should win an award for how many times you can just talk and ramble on about absolutely nothing. I mean, this movie isn't interesting in the slightest, and that's a shame too, because the movie starts off pretty well with having Frank actually getting shot. I thought, okay, maybe they're going to track down who it is, but we kind of already know the audience who actually tried to order this hit. But there's not really a whole lot really going on in this movie. I felt like, okay, yeah, we have this crime war with both of these guys, but there wasn't like a lot of tension in the movie. A lot of the side characters really didn't amount to nothing. And just felt like when the movie was going along, there just wasn't really a lot to really be intrigued for. And the movie is 2 hours long, and there is just not really a whole lot of action going on. I just feel like most of the time we're talking at a bar, we're talking at a park, we're talking just in a field. I mean, like, there's so many times where you have so much dialogue in this film, and it just doesn't feel very interesting. At first, like I said, they start off in the documentary style, but they kind of abandon that, like, maybe about 30 to 40 minutes into the movie, and then we start to get a little bit of the story, and it kind of unravels as it goes. The ending of this film, I'm not going to give it away, but I mean, it's just so underwhelming. It really isn't that exciting whatsoever. I mean, you would figure like something really cool could really kind of wrap up this film, but it's just really disappointing by the end. As the runtime was going along, I was like, is anything interesting going to happen? You have so many characters just kind of talking and blabbing away, and I feel like this film is very specific for people that really love this genre and love like a slower, heavy, dialogue-driven movie, and really like Robert De Niro. And to be honest, I honestly think that Robert De Niro, at least for the movies that I've seen by him, because I've seen a lot of his more modern movies in the past 5-6 years, I really haven't been impressed with anything he's really been in. Most of the stuff he's in is very mediocre to just average, and this one I think is below average. The fact that this movie has been trying to get greenlit since 1970, all the major studios actually have been turning this movie down, and finally it got greenlit in 2022, and I can honestly understand why those major studios wanted to not take on this film, because it's very messy. It gives you all these different faces of different characters, but it just doesn't even make sense of it. There's certain conflicts they try to introduce, like there's this court case they try to bring into it, and there's like small conflicts of violence, but they just don't make it interesting enough with its dialogue. Some of the dialogue, there's just a lot of overacting within it, and some of the editing is just very improper from editing from scene to scene. Some of the technical aspects, like some of the camera work, isn't too bad, but like this film is so messy. Like, I can't imagine like the average viewer going to the movies, if they just never go to the movies, absolutely loving this film unless they either A, love Robert De Niro, or B, love crime mob type films. If you don't like either of those, I can't see you really enjoying this film or even interested in the subject matter itself, because this film, it doesn't do any favors to really make you feel like you're really invested in the story. It's just a lot of blabbing on throughout the entirety of this film, and just a lot of characters that you can't connect with and feel like you're even part of the drama. Like, it feels like stuff is around the audience here kind of being introduced, but it doesn't really grip you into the movie, and it doesn't feel like you really understand at points what's really going on, because you just have kind of like a lot of characters just blabbing around about nonsense. It's really all I can really call it, is just nonsense. It feels very nonsensical in a lot of its plot points, and it was just a disappointment overall. So as far as the score for this film, I'm only going to give it a 1 out of 5. This was a very boring time. Right now, this is in the top 5 of like the worst movies that I've had to view in a theater this year. I mean, I was just undeniably bored watching this. This was just not for me whatsoever. However, I'm going to hear from you guys. What did you guys think about this movie? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? I'm sure there's someone out there that likes this film, and that is great that it worked for you. But overall, this is just not something I can recommend. You have to really like this kind of genre to really get into it. And for me, I didn't like it whatsoever. So it's a miss for me. But thank you guys for watching as always, and I will see you guys next time.